guys, it is the 24th of July. I'll be covering narrative and bias today. I think oftentimes those two kind of get confused a little bit, but I want to kind of clear it up how I form my narrative, which then ties into my bias, whether that's short term or longer term, but mostly it's going to be short term based off that narrative I built. You can build a narrative off the day, any time frame essentially, but it's just going to refer to overall, institutional structure of where the market is likely to draw to. So, kind of how I would start today is without even just take a step back from the charts, whether it's a 15-minute time frame or a daily, just kind of see what's been happening. So right off the bat, I can simply tell that sell sides are getting taken out. We're going to external buy side, right? Internal sell side back to external buy side constantly, over and over again. Anything that now, sorry, let me cover this. I want to cover more of what the downside looks like when you get a change up. So this was May. So you'll see this same stuff here, but to the downside, right? And of course, this is going to happen at some point, but as of now, we are on the complete opposite. We are to the upside. So anything for me as far as narrative is bullish right now. And by bullish, what do I mean? That means any sell side in a discount, whether it's on a higher time frame or a shorter, smaller time frame, I'm going to be looking to be a buyer there. Can you short to the sell sides? Yes, I've taken plenty of shorts in the markets within the last few days, and it still executes the same way because it's still repeating logic. But I would come on here, to begin the day, and I would build that narrative simply by saying, okay, are we going to internal sell side to external buy side, and is that aligning with institutional order flow on, let's say, a weekly time frame? So as you can see, it's all down movement, all up movement. And when you're at all-time highs, that's where you're playing a risky game if you're trying to short. You definitely do not want to try to short any type of highs. I think I've done that in my past times, and it didn't favor me whatsoever. So I'm all about probabilities, and your best probabilities do come from shorting in a premium, but at all-time highs, you have to respect that we don't know where that high may end up at, and I typically recommend using standard deviations for all-time highs. I said that on my X account not too long ago, but see here, this is something a lot of people kind of don't understand. So when we drop back into a discount and we take out a sell side, for example, what you notice is the pullbacks as you get into a higher premium, they get less and less because market's going back to an objective. So the damage was done here, right? So you shouldn't be anything short term that's going to be to the sell side should be anticipated back to external buy side. That happened until you reach this external liquidity here. So obviously we had the same uptrend we saw on that 15-minute chart. So I'm aligned with that, okay? I don't really care what the news is. The news typically pans out in the direction that we're already in. So, if it's to go take out a sell side and sit under it for a little bit and then come back above that and then trade higher, that's kind of what I would be looking for in those scenarios. I'll be looking for Judas swings to the downside when I have a bullish narrative. So bullish narrative, actually, let me see. Yeah, bullish narrative equals Judas swing to the downside, sell sides, and discount. If you like to screenshot these types of things, that's why I kind of put it on the screen. Sell sides and discounts, buying under, whether it's midnight, 8:30 / 9:30 openings. So that when I have a bullish narrative, this is the idea here. And when I have a bearish narrative, it's literally everything to the opposite of what the bullish side is. So buy sides and premium, selling above. So that's that. So if I had the idea on a higher time frame that is what I'm going to go for when I open up my charts and I get here, let's say let's take a look at today. Today was kind of a prime example of, and this is, you'll see this as well on this time frame. So this is what I was watching when you see how this, actually let me put it on the chart. This is something I discussed. This sell side taken, take that here, okay? The same thing that happened on that weekly time frame a minute ago, just revisit it. So I always have these objectives. The first objective in a discount, for example, on if our higher time frame is the narrative is bullish, you want to look for discounted prices to go higher. Okay, that's the same thing that occurred on that weekly. We traded lower, took out a sell side, and then we retraced higher. So remember what I told you. As you get to a higher premium, the new premium, and you can see these haven't been taken yet, probably have been on ES. ES has been stronger, but if you understand this, that we have already dipped into this discounted area, we hit the first objective in the discount, and we traded higher from there. As you get up here, it's less likely to come back into the discount of simply this range or back down in here, because it's set on the target. The target's here. The target is equal highs, okay? And whether it creates SMT there or not, it's still going to be the overall target. You should not be looking for this to come back to these sell sides. And anything that, and I mean this one in the discount, for example, but this right here, anything like this short term, and this is probably overnight, yeah. So this is an Asia session into the morning, and you see here, so 9:30 opens, we trade lower to this short-term sell sides. Short-term sell side, and that is going to be your Judas swing higher, okay? Same thing here. 9:30 here, what happens? We go down to a Judas, that's a Judas swing, into this fair value gap. Sorry, I was looking at something. Yeah, so we drop down into this fair value gap, this 15-minute fair value gap, and then we trade higher. I took this long today. I knew they were engineering liquidity here. Just kind of watching the range in between here. They did take out a sell side, some equal lows in here. That gets purged, but anyways, this is just, I'm not trying to get into the specifics. This is more of the general consensus that if I have a bullish narrative, I'm looking for exactly what I just posted about 2 to 3 minutes ago, where I will look for a Judas swing to the downside to be a buying opportunity. That happened 2 days in a row, here and there. The bias is going to be bullish in this case. If you have a bullish narrative, typically the bias short term will be also bullish. Now, my bias, if I'm in a high premium that isn't typically a all-time high scenario, my bias short term will be to the downside, because I will take on if I see that liquidity is being engineered in a premium, I'm going to hunt for that first objective in a discount. So please understand that. Like here, you see this, even though it is all-time highs, I still respect the idea that we're going lower. Your shorting opportunities, they're not that well at all-time highs, so you got to be careful with that. It's best if you have that bullish narrative to just be patient, wait for the downside, sell side to be taken out, and then try to trade that coincides with that bullish narrative. Okay, so build the narrative from the higher time frame, and then work your way down and say, okay, where are we at? The bias is both directions every day. In my opinion, the bias is both directions. That's what ICT said. That's what I stick with, because you can trade the market in both directions if you understand this concept. A lot of this is built on premium and discount. Okay, it's how the markets operate. It's how it gets people fooled into thinking you are in a bearish scenario, and you get stopped out because the market just keeps moving higher. I saw somebody say the market has been garbage lately, and I will say we may be consolidating. If you look at a higher time frame, we may be consolidating, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you can still find trades that align with, you know, the overall narrative, and that are, you know, low hanging fruit objectives. So understand that when I'm looking at, let me pull this out. When I'm on a higher time frame, you can instantly see that the narrative is bullish. We are going higher. If this were the case here on a weekly chart, the narrative would be, okay, we are looking for a sell side. Because think about it, this is almost 3 weeks of downside movement. Okay, this is 2024, but you also have this, which is 2025 of February. When you get that, like if I saw this, where you get the market structure shift, my first instinct is, okay, on a higher time frame, you have to understand that the narrative is to the downside. Where are the equal lows at here? And you're going to be trading based off that. Here, if you look at for the ideally last few months, I mean, we take out the sell side, trade higher. That's going to be a bullish narrative no matter what, even if it's news related or not. We get one bad news day, and everybody thinks we're bearish, and that occurred so many times. We get bad news and people think we're bearish, and then they start shorting again, and it's like, no, it's literally just reaching into a discounted area and trading higher. That's it. It's literally how it's operating to manipulate your mind. And that's when you think of narrative, think of how you are going to be manipulated to say, how can I have a bullish narrative but see bearish things happening in the market? When you see bearish things happening in the market, you need to find opportunities to be a buyer, not a seller. Okay, when the trend changes, you'll know, and that usually takes time to form on a higher time frame. So your best bet is sticking with that narrative overall, and on a short-term basis, finding the bias that aligns with that narrative. Okay. I wanted to make this video because a lot of people kind of just don't understand the two. I just think of a narrative as a market structure on a higher time frame, and then when if I drop down into a lower time frame and the bias maybe short term to the downside, then that doesn't take away from what my narrative is. But because my bias is short-term bearish, I will take a short, for example, if everything aligns, right? But either way, I think it's extremely important to get on that higher time frame, learn market structure, learn the short-term or long and short-term lows and highs, and the intermediate-term highs and lows, things of that nature. That's going to be very important for you to study. I've kind of covered a little bit about that in my Telegram, but I don't really want to cover market structure with candles publicly because a lot of people will use them in the wrong sense. They're going to use them. They're going to become a pattern-based trader based off what I say in terms of that. So I don't want to teach that because the first priority is going to be time and then price. So overall, please understand that, and you should screenshot this. I think that, This is extremely important. If you are building a narrative, a bullish narrative based off the higher time frame, where you got, you got your long-term low put in here, and you're anticipating your short-term lows and intermediate-term lows to form, where they can form at, take that trade, that aligns with that narrative. That's going to be extremely important. I would love to answer any more questions. I did identify that I could build this this video for people that may be interested in simply knowing those things. I don't really have a lot to cover as far as the market. I think I guess I can kind of cover what I was looking for this morning, but I mean, short, obviously we have these, right? Sorry, that's buy side. So in short, we have this, all this engineered liquidity. I'd be watching this range here. Okay, where's my first point of liquidity in discount? It's going to be these lows right here. This is something I can frame up fairly quickly. So, and we didn't reach it here. And this was Thursday. This was in the morning. So, okay, we did get here. If I'm not mistaken, we may have had news. I'll have to double check. But needless to say, sorry. At open, I guess. Let me look, because I would frame this based off what's in the open, right at open. So my focus would be these equal lows here. Right here, you got that high swept, and then I was watching this right here, this sell side. So this sell side was taken. This buy side was taken. But understand that we will go take buy side in a premium to go back to a discount. So, but also realize the other liquidity left in a premium, right? And we already did the damage. We already did the damage here. So the ideal, which was here, that's what I showed you on that 15-minute time frame. So it's set on getting to those objectives over here, right? So anything short-term in a discount needs to be bought to a external buy side. That's exactly what you're seeing here. This is how you need to frame the ideas. This is what I do right before open, and this is what I'll be watching. So here's 9:30, and obviously use the manipulation macro to your advantage. So manipulation macro today traded lower. Okay. We traded lower. No, actually, I take that back. There was nothing in here that said. So we consolidated before open, which says you need to wait for the 950 macro. So yeah, you could have took a short here into these equal lows here, but I was waiting for a buying opportunity. So I got that in here. I was a buyer, and then we traded higher. And as if you're in my Telegram, my focus is going to be the low-hanging fruit objectives. So, whether that's 20 to 30 points consistently or a buy side that's very apparent, that's up to you. So, like I said, short term here, my bias was, my overall narrative is bullish. I took a short in here to go to these equal lows, took that, and then with the narrative in mind on a higher time frame, and we haven't reached that objective yet, my goal is to find a reason to buy. That was the reason here. I bought here, we traded higher. I also bought in here and traded to this high, or right here, traded in back into these equal high. It's the same thing over and over again. Sell side taken to buy side, and it's continuous. So stick with that, because your probabilities of winning trades will increase big time. So that basically covers this. I don't mean to speed through this, but the market's on repeat for me every day, so it's the same thing. I can frame this idea of narrative and bias pretty quickly. So it's something you need to do. It's something you need to become accustomed to. Look at it from a bird's eye view and say, what does this look like? Is it going higher or is it going lower? Build a narrative for it, determine the short-term bias, and then trade based off of that. Do not change things up. Don't try to. You're likely to, if you can get a bullish bias with a bullish narrative, stick with that. If you can justify it, stick with it. And same with the bearish scenario. So anyways, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Glad I can make this video for you guys. And if there's any other topics you want me to cover, just let me know. Thanks.